Hello and welcome to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, and I'm on the putting green here at Drayton Park Golf Club. And today what I want to do is a video talking about where your weight should be while you're putting. And I'm going to do this, this is sort of two parts. So you're going to see it from this angle, from face on, where I'm talking about the weight distribution from lead leg to trail leg, so from left to right. And then you're going to see it from down line, where I'm going to be talking more about the balance point from toes to heels. So I've got two different exercises for you to give you a really good idea of where your pressure should be and how to maintain that while you're putting. So one of the big faults I tend to see is players sort of backing up on it. Maybe they're starting with their weight too even, or maybe favouring their trail foot to start with, or the head's actually moving away from the target as they make their stroke. And what we tend to see is the player hitting very much on the way up, but adding loft to the putter. Now, when that happens, I see a lot of amateurs coming up short. So a key point when you're putting from this angle that we're talking about here is to keep your pressure on your lead leg. So for me as a right-handed player, I want to keep my pressure on my left leg. And I'm looking for that percentage to be around 75, 80% on that front leg to start with, and I just want to keep it there. So our putters, generally it does depend a little bit manufacturer to manufacturer, but start with about 3.5 to 4 degrees of loft on. All we need on a good green by the time we hit the golf ball is 1 degree of dynamic loft. So it doesn't actually matter too much whether hitting up or down on the ball, but we just need a degree of dynamic loft to create some launch, reduce the amount of skid and get the ball rolling end over end. What a lot of bad putters do is they're adding loft to their putter. And I believe this is often caused from this movement where maybe they haven't started with enough pressure on their lead leg, or they're backing up. And when they're adding loft to the putter, you'll get a much higher launch. You'll get more skid, so the ball actually sliding along the green. You'll get backspin before the ball actually turns into forward spin and then into pure roll. So it takes a lot longer for the ball to actually get into an end over end roll. And we see that a lot when we look at it on real high speed camera. So you may not be aware too much what the ball's doing, but it's definitely got some launch. It's got a little bit of skid where the ball really isn't doing very much, but we want to reduce that. And if possible, we want the ball then rolling end over end. If we hit it with the right amount of loft, we've got a very good chance to do that. So what I've got here is a couple of air cushions, a couple of balance cushions. You could easily do this exercise at home just using a couple of sets of scales. So ideally they'd need to be the same height, but what you can do is stand on those scales and just try and set your weight to favour your lead leg. So again, for me as a right-handed player, my left leg, and maintain that. Even better if we can look at it on a force platform, or this gives me a very good sensation. So anyone who hasn't been on these, they are very, very tough, very, very tricky just to get your balance. So if it looks like I'm wobbling and falling over, I probably am. They do take quite a lot of getting used to, but they're a great exercise. It'd be ideal if these were sunken down a little bit, because I am slightly higher now than I normally would be on the green. Luckily I've got a counterbalance putter, so I normally grip this around 2-3 inches down the handle, so I can actually grip a little bit higher. But if you have got an artificial putting area where you can set the balance cushions a little lower than the green surface, even better, just so we are on more of a level. So I would encourage you to have a few practice strokes without the ball first. So it's trying to set my pressure favouring my lead leg and keep that pressure there. I'll know if I'm backing up because I can feel the pressure moving into my right leg, moving into that balance cushion on the right. So what I'm really trying to do is set my pressure on my lead leg and keep it there. So it's a pulling action. I'm pulling the putter through. I'm not pushing it. Okay, so we're definitely in control of something when we're ahead of it and we're pulling it, not when we're behind it and pushing it. So I want to keep that pressure on my lead leg throughout the stroke. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit a few. So I've just got a really short putt. You can just see the hole in view. So pressure favouring my lead leg and keep it there. My pressure just went a little bit towards the balls of my feet, but I think I managed to keep it quite well onto my lead leg. I actually pushed that one a little bit, and you may know why I did that when we talk about where the weight is, balls to heels or toes to heels, in a second. So try one more. Pressure on my lead leg and I'm trying to keep it there. What you'll see is my head hasn't moved. I get a lot of players where they finish more like this. This trail shoulder goes low, this lead shoulder comes very high, and they end up hitting very much on the way up of it. Now, there are good players hitting on the way up, but they're actually hitting on the way up and still de-lofting the putter. They're not hitting up on it and adding loft to the putter. So it's set that pressure on that lead leg, on that left leg for me, and keep it there. That felt pretty solid as well. Missed all those just on the low side. May have been aiming a touch too far right. It's a couple inches from the left, but good solid strikes. Definitely felt like I kept my pressure on my lead leg. Now what you're going to see is it from downline, and we're going to talk more about the pressure toes to heels. Right, and on to the second part of this video. So this is really to do with where our pressure should be towards our toes or heels. So a great exercise I've got for you is just to use a broomstick or something of similar height like I've got on the ground here, and you're just going to set it through the arch of your shoes. It's even better, I've actually got on pimpled sole shoes. It's actually better with probably spiked shoes where they do have a little bit of an arch, a little bit of a ridge in the bottom of the shoe, and what we're trying to really get is our weight very equal. So we want it to be slightly forwards, if anything, balls of feet. We definitely don't want to go too extreme toes or too extreme heels. And the reason for that is if I set my weight too much in my heels, so what you'd start to see is my toes actually up in the air too much, is it will cause the putter to be moving much more to the inside on the way back. Now that can cause the putter face to open a lot as well, maybe excessively open. So weight towards the heels tends to draw the club back too far on the inside towards yourself, and what I can see a lot from there is push shots unless there's a lot of rotation of the putter face to try and square it. If someone gets the weight too much out to their toes, and they'll tend to, when they get their eye line over the top or beyond the golf ball, they'll tend to get the putter moving out away from them, and when that happens the club face tends to be pointing to the left, so we tend to see more pulls when you've got too much pressure to your toes, and we tend to see more pushes to the right when a player gets too much weight in their heels. So what we're looking for is a very well balanced setup. So I've already discussed that I want my pressure on my lead leg, but I want it very well balanced from heels to toes. So I'd again encourage you to go ahead and hit a few with that cane, with that broomstick under the arch of your shoes. Good putt, just didn't quite turn. Again, getting that feeling, my weight is balls of feet. Good solid strike again, just not moving quite as much as I was expecting there, but definitely getting that feeling of my weight being onto my lead leg and very well balanced from heels to toes. That's it there. So it's a great exercise to go ahead and hit a few putts with that under your heels. It's something you can do in the living room, could do on the putting green, but start to get an awareness of where your pressure should be left to right, heels to toes. As a quick recap, we want that pressure favouring your lead leg and staying there, not changing, not backing up. And we want your weight very balanced from heels to toes. We don't want too much pressure forwards or too much pressure back, as that has a big impact on the path. And that can also start to affect the club face that we know is actually very key when we're putting, where that club face points by the time you hit the golf ball. Like anything, you can do something wrong and start to compensate, but it takes a lot of repetition, a lot of practice to start to get away with it. It's much better to have good putting fundamentals, and that's what these exercises are going to give you. If you enjoyed that video, please check out lots of the other putting videos now coming. Plenty of content every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 5:30, and please check us out on all our other social media. The info for that's coming along the bottom of the screen, and get in contact on there with any videos, any ideas that you'd like to see. Thanks guys.